All right. We're going to get this show on the road here.
Oh, there you go. Oh. Got you?
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate the strong sense of support we're getting from all the young people in our community. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for sitting through this example of your government at work. So we're going to start off as we always do. I'd like to ask Gwen if she would lead us in the flag salute. That would be great. So please.
Everyone stand. Please face the flag. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Now, just restate what was stated earlier by Chris and what I attempted to say earlier. It's echoey in here, so if you guys are holding conversations up there, we can hear you almost verbatim up here. So please, if we can keep the sound level down, low, non-existent, that would be greatly appreciated. We have a pretty full agenda today, and we really, really would like to get through it so that we're out of here at a reasonable time. So with that, I appreciate you all being here. Our signer will, at the end, sign all your sheets. So let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. It's 6:19, and it's the 16th of October. Thank you for being at the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. So can we take roll call, please?
John Barbera.
Here.
Vic Christensen here. John Domiglio.
Here.
Larry Eaton, Craig Goldfarb, and Cynthia Gagne are all excused. Gwen Henry.
Present.
Melanie Lebrecq.
Present.
Kelly Miller is excused. Abby Norman.
Here.
Thomas Norman.
Present.
Ray Regalado.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Angela Sumner is excused. Chris Valle.
Here.
Okay, that's 10, so we do have quorum.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, which is general public comment on non-agenda items. So we're going to start off with Lori Jacobs.
Good evening, board. Good evening, students and stakeholders. Right now, the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council is accepting applications for the youth seat. I know I saw a lot of you there last night. I'm glad you're back today. So this is a great opportunity to not just sit in the audience, but to be actively involved. Abby, raise your hand. Abby is from San Pedro High School and has been our current youth rep. Oh, you're not? Oh, I'm sorry. You're from? Cams, okay. Sorry. But she lives in San Pedro. And Adrian over here is on the Central Neighborhood Council, and he just graduated high school last year. Great opportunity for youth to get involved, learn how grassroots advocacy works. And we're accepting applications that ends Friday, October 25th. So go to our website at nwsanpedro.org. And all the information is there for youth ages 14 to 17. If you have any questions about it, I'll be sitting here. You can pull me outside and I'll talk to you. Hope you'll take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, speaker number 2, Gwen Henry. And Gwen Henry will be speaking as a stakeholder.
I have 2 items. One is regarding the animal shelter. Just as a review, on May 31st, a 24-year veteran shelter employee, Harbor Animal Shelter Supervisor Leslie Correa, was attacked by a pit bull mix who was red listed. She underwent 3 surgeries in the week following the attack. Her injuries are so severe that she just recently has left the hospital. She is back to driving, but it will be a long recovery. In the months following, the City Council wrote motions to address some of the serious problems which caused an experienced animal handler to almost be killed. In the preceding months, it looks like those motions have not had the impact or the effect that was desired. Our council member, Tim McOsker, is taking letters and notes from people regarding their thoughts on how to remedy the situation. I hope that some of the members here will consider this. I will be writing a letter trying to help with some of the issues that have come up by the animal shelter staff and the community. It's a serious issue. The general manager, to give you the severity of it, the general manager, Stacey Dane, who was appointed by Karen Bass, she has gone on hiatus. She is no longer working for the last month for the City of Los Angeles. There are some intractable problems that that were asked to be remedied. That they're very complex. It's a very difficult situation, and I hope that everyone consider this and this council work towards solutions in the future. Thank you.
Might as well stay there. The next speaker will be Gwen Henry as a stakeholder, and she'll be speaking on a different item.
On a lighter note, the Dia de los Muertos Festival will be occurring on the 26th. I would hope that this this neighborhood council would consider next year being a sponsor. It is a very big event for our community. Our presence there would be would be something that we should do. Otherwise, please consider going down there. It's a very big event. The whole community is there. In fact, regarding the animals, Pedro Pet Pals will be having an ofrenda, and you can bring your pictures for the ofrenda. There will be a sign-up for that, and once again, it's on the 26th. They will be asking for donations of material goods and of funds to help to take some of the animals out of the shelter and get them adopted to homes. Thank you.
If I could, for those of you who may not know, an ofrenda is a memorial altar that brings your family members to mind. You remember them. And Dia de los Muertos celebration will be in downtown San Pedro on the 26th. So just, if you haven't been there, it's really a cool sight to see. It's really great to be part of. And I think you'll have a lot of fun. Okay, thank you, Gwen. Next will be Paul Randall.
Good evening. I don't know if everybody remembers me, but I was here about a year ago to speak about the garden on Gaffney Street. If you remember, we had members of the garden not following rules. We had members of the garden that were watering whenever they wanted. The LA Garden Council is paid for by the City of Los Angeles. Let me give you an update. Nothing has changed. We have no water on the top during the summer. Other gardeners are watering not on their assigned date, so they're using all the pressure. Over the last year, I have not been able to get into my garden because of dumpsters and dirt being dumped in front of it. I'll get to that in a minute. We actually have rules being violated by a member of this council. They have not planted, they have not gardened, and I don't think they've even watered their organic weeds. I was told I had to work with Tim McCosker's office, contacted her last year. She told me I would have to go to mediation through Los Angeles City Attorney's office. I contacted the mediator, the Los Angeles City Attorney's office, worked with the mediator. Omar from the LA Garden Council refuted mediation. President of the Gaffey Street Garden leadership refused mediation. I contacted Drew from Tim McCoster's office to meet with him over a month ago. So let me give you some history, because I'm left with no other choice. On October 23rd of last year, I had my prostate removed due to prostate cancer. I had 7 incisions, a drain, and a catheter. I tried to go to the garden for relaxation and to get out of the house. I don't know if anybody's ever had surgery, but you don't want to have cabin fever. I was unable to walk over the mounds of dirt piled in front of our garden gate. After 3 weeks, my wife started digging a path for me to get to my garden so I could have entry to the garden. Really wish I could show you the video. I've shown it to a couple people and they are shocked, and they've told me what I need to do. I contacted the Garden Council representative and the Gaffey Street president that I did not have access. No response. Didn't care. I pay my rent for my garden just like everybody else. I have no water and I have no access. Neither one of them will return messages. I believe the only way I'm going to get my point across is I will have to sue the City of Los Angeles and the Garden Council and the Gaffey Garden. They must be in ADA compliant. This garden belongs to the city. I have no problem. The American Cancer Society will provide me with an attorney for free.
Next speaker, Michelle Raymond. Yeah.
Will you just speak in the microphone, please?
Good evening. I'm Michelle Raymond with Alta Sea. I'd like to know how many people here have been to Alta Sea before? Perfect. Thank you. We're open for business. This picture here shows you our campus. We're 35 acres. We've just refurbished 3 old 110 warehouses. We're developing solutions to climate change based on the ocean. Our focus areas are aquaculture, undersea robotics and sensors, and renewable marine energy, which includes wave and tidal energy and marine carbon capture. We invite you to come join us at Alta Sea. I'm here with my colleague Richard, our Ocean Ambassador, and he's going to talk to you about our Ocean Ambassador program. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Richard Ellingson. I'm a resident of the Northwest area, and I've been a volunteer at Alta Sea for 2 years. The reason that we're here tonight is that we have completed the complete refurbishing of a 900-foot-long building down at the end of the docks. If you go on Harbor Boulevard towards the docks...
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Sorry. If you go down Harbor Boulevard, heading past the Iowa, past the Maritime Museum, and then out towards the top of the shopping area, past the fishing boats, keep going. You're heading out towards the end of the piers. And that's where Alta Sea is located in what is called Signal Street. The refurbishing of that building, including solar panels on the roof and a completely refurbishing of the building inside and out, has taken 2 years, and we just got permission to occupy the building with tenants. Tenants are companies that are involved in cleaning up the ocean, growing things on the ocean, exploring the ocean, and many other activities, but everything related to the ocean. There isn't a facility like this anywhere else in the world that we know of. So it should be really interesting for everybody. What we need now is volunteers, older, retired, probably volunteers like myself, who can work during the week in our visitor center. Anywhere from a couple of hours, more if they want to. What they'll do is they'll learn what we're doing down there, and they'll learn as we start pulling companies into this building to set up their facilities, what kind of help they're going to need from our volunteers. So it's going to be a real learning process. But in any case, because we've been given the opportunity to occupy this building that is now ready, we need volunteers, again, older volunteers like myself that can work during the week. Myself and Michelle, who is the head of our volunteer activities, are going to be waiting over in the corner with the photograph. If anyone would like to talk to us after the meeting, we'd be glad to answer any questions, and so forth. So that's about all I had to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all the speakers. Okay, that takes care of agenda item number 2. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, and that's presentation from Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. You're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Can you go to the mic, please?
So my name is Kevin Mount. I am Electrical Services Manager for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power in the Power Transmission and Distribution Division, which are the folks that supply electricity to your guys' businesses, residents, and communities that we're in right now. With me is Taryn, and Taryn is a community services specialist. Did I get that right? So my understanding is that the council reached out and asked for a department representative. So I'm one of the 6 managers in our division, and I got the assignment. I'm glad to be here. I know San Pedro pretty well. I learned to dive at Pacific Wilderness down on Pacific Street. I met my current partner. She used to live on 17th Street. Spent a lot of time down here, right? Alta Sea, I'm familiar with the project over there. Familiar with this park. Anyway, been with the department over 30 years. I have firsthand knowledge of the systems, the electrical systems that supply the electricity to the aforementioned establishments, right? So my understanding is that community is upset or wanted some answers about some outages. So I could talk and maybe miss the point, but who has a question or would like an explanation of what took place before I go into my prepared
Well,
talking points?
if I could,
Please.
we have an understanding that has not necessarily been, like, say, official, but what goes around with the the community, where the outage that was experienced by many residents and businesses was due to some type of accident. And so I guess perhaps maybe how that accident affected so many people moving west, it appeared from what we're finding out, and the length of time that the residents were out of power,
Okay.
and when things finally started to light up again.
All right, I can speak to that. So on September 10th at approximately 1:30 in the morning, a vehicle hit a power pole in the vicinity of Pacific and Channel, and it sheared the pole, right? When that impact happened, right, the wires that are on there are different voltage classifications. At the top of that pole, there was a 35,000 volt circuit. There was actually a couple of them. And down below it, the pole's framed, so we don't have, looks like we have poles everywhere, right? But so we don't have even more poles. We put as much stuff on one pole that we can space out according to our construction standards and the laws, right? So 35,000 volts, a couple of circuits. Underneath that, a couple of 4,800 volt circuits, right? So those circuits, the lower voltage ones, are the ones that go to the transformers in your neighborhoods, step the voltage down to what we serve you with, okay? So the wire broke on the primary circuit because of the impact. Right now, I can't tell you if it came together and short-circuited and burnt in two, or if it was just the strain that was created, okay? So when that wire got hit and broke, part of it went down and part of it went up. And the part that went up, the 4,800 volt circuit, contacted the 34,500 volt circuit. So it did what we call high-potting the circuit. There's thousands of customers on each primary circuit. It varies, right, between 2,000 and 7,000, right? So by that estimate, that explanation, there were 4,000 people approximately that were served over voltage because of this accident. When that happens, any conductor that's insulated or equipment that's designed to work at, say, 120 volts or 220 volts in a house has now been supplied high voltage. It fails, right? So we got the wire back up. The initial outage was approximately 10 hours, right, before most of the load was restored. What we didn't know is that when meters melted and we didn't have the individual calls, or when appliances inside of somebody's home were defective, causing the lights not to come on, right, that extended some of the outage. Did I do an okay job explaining that?
That helps.
It would be like, if an analogy would help, it would be like taking the garden hose at my house and hooking it up to a fire hydrant.
That sounds like overload. I'll get to your question, John, in a minute. I'd like to say that many people experience an outage much longer than 10 hours. In fact, now, I'm not going to speak for anyone, but this is what I'm getting back. Our house was without voltage for probably the following day when we saw the electricity come back on, probably about 4 o'clock in the morning the following day. not that same time frame. So it felt like we were without electricity for days. It was, probably more in the line of almost 2 hours. 2 days. But it was for quite a long, more period of time than the 10 hours, and not without a whole lot of. We saw DWP trucks going around repairing all sorts of, I would imagine, transformers. I know that's what they did in front of our house throughout the neighborhood over those next 2 nights.
So maybe I should have prefaced my statement with the outages that occurred from this vehicle accident. Keep in mind, right, that between September 5th and approximately September 11th, we were experiencing high elevated heat, record setting. There were times that the department had tens of thousands, upward of 30,000 people out of power. Right, we had crews working around the clock, right, come in and assess that. So I don't know that your house specifically was out because of the vehicle accident, or if it was out because of just a transformer failure.
If I could, and please, I just want to build the story out as best I could. In our area, numerous transformers blew out within minutes after the accident. Again, the one right in front of the house, by 1:30, that transformer had blown up, scared the dog into the closet, and hung out there for quite a few hours. But it was quite sizable, and I heard down on Capitol, we heard the transformer going out there. And I would imagine that, some of the people who live in that general area, also their transformers, I know going up toward Park Western, there were more transformers that were worked on. So I'm not going to say that it was heat related. It seemed to be more accident related, and because the timing was just too coincidental, if that's the case.
I appreciate the details. I'll take the questions. So know that when the wire comes down, the circuits are out, right? They've made contact. Some transformers are going to fail right now, and some transformers are going to fail in the future, right? So you're telling me that it happened around the same time as the accident? I believe you. Yeah. So I believe that transformer was over voltage, right? So when I say that it was restored, I don't mean that everyone individually was restored. I mean that they got the circuit energized from the distributing station,
right,
which is down there by the cruise ship terminal.
Right.
All this came out of DS3, distribution station 3. So I'll apologize for the inconvenience, right? And we always strive to do better. Our response, I'm proud of, to tell you the truth. Not only to the heat wave, but to this accident itself, right? Replacing the pole and getting it back on. It's never convenient. I don't even have a price yet for what that cost, right? And I don't know if the accident was caused, well, I know it was caused by a vehicle striking the structure of the pole. I don't know if it was potentially a medical emergency, or if it was potentially operating under the influence, or just somebody losing control. But yeah, awful.
And if I can take it to the next level, and I think this is where many of us have concerns. When the electricity was finally put back online, 4 o'clock that morning, the following morning, when we finally got ours, and I'm hearing that this was the experience of many others, we found out that many of our appliances, surge protectors, outlets were just blown out and required people to get people out to come and repair some of this stuff, or the fact that people lost quite a bit of home stuff, if I could say it that way, that had to be replaced and bought and stuff like that for all that. I'm going to be very honest. From what I found out from an employee of DWP, their standard responses, fill out the claim card or claim form, and you will get, consideration. But the feedback I got from that employee says, for the most part, you deny all claims when it's something like this happens. So it seems like there's a lot of people in the community who are out quite a bit of money, in some cases, out of their pockets. So I think there lies the big concern, is just what happens. People not only suffered through the heat, they also suffered the loss of household income, to take care of stuff, because they had to replace, whether it be refrigerators, electrical outlets, circuits, things of that nature. Some people lost quite a bit of money in that whole thing. So,
Yeah, every single one of those transformers, right, that had to be replaced, we suffered substantial loss, right, as well. It's not a it's not a good situation for anyone, right? I'm thankful that I haven't heard of any reports of any injuries. Right?
Yeah, you're right. Haven't heard anything like that, which is, we're all thankful for that.
Right. So there were a few other questions.
John, you want to go ahead and start?
Have we learned anything from the two wires that came together? Shouldn't it be further apart where they can't come together? And I'm not done yet. And I know when nobody puts a surge protector on their refrigerators or whatnot. Computers, yes. We're not expecting a refrigerator or anything like that. But it seems like the way you explained it, that one higher frequency and one lower frequency, a wire touched, a wire set everything off. How do we avoid that for next time? Is it avoidable? And can anybody get compensated for their loss of, because they're paying electricity and everything? And I don't buy the heat thing because it's always hot in that area. That's the hottest area in San Pedro. So, and I've never experienced anything like this before. So I don't think it's because of the accident. Maybe you can throw the heat in there, but I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Maybe I wasn't clear. So during the heat storm, we had failures of transformers.
Yeah.
Right? And then we had a separate event where a vehicle hit one of our structures, a pole. So without knowing specifically what address we're talking about, it's hard to know exactly what was the cause of the outage for each individual customer. But through the claims process, they will look at that. So I think you had 3 questions or 4 in there, right? So that was a response to a statement that I made. So should the wires be further apart? They're spaced out on the pole by laws, right? And we like them spaced out even more than what the minimum is. The reason is when I have to send a crew out there and they need to get up there, if everything's close together, they can't get their equipment up there without being dangerous, right? Or potentially make, contact, right? So they're spread out substantially on the pole. So if you have a 200 or a 300 foot span of wire from one pole to the other, that would be a big one. Some of them are much shorter. You can't have the spacing. So if the wire parts and breaks, there's something called snapback. It happens with rope. If anybody was in the Navy, it happens with wire too. It's originally stored on a drum, right? And it has a memory. So when the wire comes down from the strain, it flicks. So anywhere in that span of wire, if it flicks up and touches the wire above it, there's no way we could space something, 50 or 100 feet apart on levels on a pole. So I don't think it is preventable, I think that I think that, I don't know how many hit poles that we get a year, but I've got 2 going on right now in the San Fernando Valley, right? So it's not uncommon, right? People drive fast, they lose control, and they smash into stuff.
The most damage was on Channel Street. A lot of the damage was on Channel. I don't know exactly where. I live about a mile away. My home wasn't damaged at all. What stopped it from coming to my home?
So one thing I'm not is an engineer, right? And electricity is a science, right? So I don't like when people give me information that's not accurate. So that is out of my subject matter expertise, right? I do know that electricity will seek a path of least resistance, right? So, you know, it always is trying to find its other side, which is on ground. So potentially some of that theory could go in there, but again, I'm not prepared to answer that accurately. Yeah.
We have a question over here with Melanie, and then we'll go to Gwen.
Yeah, so the elected area that I represent is Taper area, and Taper area was where it was hit the hardest, over by Gaffey and Capitol, down from Channel. One of the hardest hit areas was the gated community of Harbor Highlands. Almost every home was affected in that gated community by this whole surge of the transformer. I live just off of Capitol, right on the corner across from them, and you could see the transformer on Capitol blow up when this happened, as well as over on Gatun area, another one blew, and you could hear it. Some of the pictures that happened, and I just want to emphasize the importance of this to you, is some of the pictures I saw from the Harbor Highlands community was things like coffee makers plugged in, and they were toast. They were like burnt, the whole front of them. Microwaves that were like singed down the middle of them, ovens that were singed, washers and dryers that had burn marks all over the front of them. God forbid their homes didn't catch on fire with all these singeing. Refrigerators that were melted, the doors melted on them. Plug-ins that were totally like melted. They've lost all of their, some of their solar panels, some of their G5, their garage doors wouldn't work. None of their main panels would work anymore. They blew up their whole circuit breakers. So my point is, my understanding from them, and I'm representing them at this point, is that they said that PMP there and all had talked to LAWP and basically has blown them off. They are not doing anything with them. They are not helping them. They told them they weren't going to get nothing from them and to use their homeowners insurance. I think LADWP has some sort of obligation to these people to be customer friendly to them and work through this with them with all the damage that they lost. We have a board member also that lives just around the corner that lost all of his appliances in his home. There has to be some sort of, with the amount of money we pay for LAWP services, to be some sort of customer service friendly to help people through these circumstances, and maybe a 50-50 split or something on this, because they shouldn't have to eat all of this. Not with California and the insurance stuff that's going on now. A lot of insurance companies are leaving California. They file a big claim on their insurance, and guess what's going to happen? They're going to get canceled. So, you know, I just think there needs to be a little bit more customer friendly going on.
Gwen?
Couple of questions regarding the area. So DWP does not have a mapped border for the area that was impacted by this, where the transformers blew. There is no data which reports the households in that bordered area, or is it more scattered, where 3 houses are not impacted and 2 others on that same line are? Is there a bordered area that could be mapped regarding the impacted area, even if it's only from calls that came in? There should have been some kind of data map Can that be provided so that if somebody says that they live in the area and we don't get a response, which is, oh, it could be this, it could be that. It's you are in the area, and it looks like you are within that impacted area. A map would be useful in the future, but so that would help. And I agree with Melanie about customer response. A dialogue, something of that nature would be good, even if it's remedied by giving them solutions of home insurance, this insurance, that insurance. Anything to help assist a customer would be appreciated. Thank you.
So we do have mapping. This stack of papers here is the addresses, right? It's not public, right? But every single house that has a signer on the account, we know what transformer station it goes to.
Okay, great. So yeah, maybe in future, consider having a mapped area, so as a graphic, so that people could possibly see where they are, and then say, yes, I am in the impacted area, and then you can respond accordingly. Thank you.
I would like to ask another question and John, I'll give you another shot at it for a second. But you indicated earlier that people lost their meters, which means that how was their electricity measured during this time when it was back on? How does that work for people who lost the meter, it wasn't able to be registered, and they get free electricity for that period of time, or what? Please say yes.
Nothing's free, right? So we do try to work with our customers. Our goal, right, is to provide service, right? So like the refrigerators and the washers and dryers and the coffee pots and the garage doors and all of the electrical devices that failed, most of the meters now are digital. They're electronic as well. They short out. When they short out, a lot of the times, it does not allow electricity to pass. Some of them physically melted, right? Like you were telling me about the appliances. So when our crews got there, we did something that we call cut flat and then memo for repair. So cut flat means we jumper out the meter. So it's not getting measured at that time. So, if it's a short period of time, it doesn't make sense to try to figure out if somebody, had a light on or an air conditioner on for an hour, right? If somebody's got a grow operation or a body shop and they're using a substantial amount of power, yeah, we have to recover that to pay for the meters and the guys the folks that went out and did the repairs. I don't know if that helps to answer.
Well, yes and no. I kind of hesitate even saying this, but again, I'll use it as an example for others because I'm sure I'm not the only one. A report from me. A report was sent in about a week, maybe a week and a half. Someone came out and was going to replace the meter because our meter blew out. In fact, the guys who put the transformers up, they came over, and because I was there kind of watching them, because what are you going to do with 100-degree weather and 4 o'clock in the morning is just watch whatever's out there. He came over and looked at our meter, and sure enough, it was blown out. It was digital. And the guys never returned. The guy came out to replace it, said, well, where's your meter? I said, the guy took it with him, the repair. Okay, I'll be back in a couple of days. Haven't heard from the guy. So I'm without a meter. And that's why I would like to say, you know, if you guys can come back sometime next year, and then, you know, we can.
Yeah.
But the thing is that my fear is that even through averaging, we're going to get this exorbitant bill, and I'm sure these are other people who could be experiencing the same thing. And then, you know, what happens to that, along with the loss, along with the, you know, the payment, and what happens to the makeup? Because as I heard from you, you want to be reimbursed. DWP, I should say, wants to be reimbursed. But I think it's a fair assumption that the community members who have suffered losses because of this would somehow want to be reimbursed too. I think that's, you know, the fair and equitable way of addressing this. So,
You know, I hear you, right? I think if I put myself in anyone's spot who experienced, right, damage or inconvenience from the outage, I think I would feel similarly. How could I not? Right?
right.
We will get back and replace the meter, right? Sometimes we have to order them, right? I mean, we have several in stock, right? We only have so many people that do that job, right? They're meter setters, right? So I'm sure if the guys would have had a meter on their truck, depending on what type of crew it is, the people that replace the poles and the transformers aren't necessarily always the same people that set meters. Sometimes they are, right? So without knowing all the details, right, I can't really speak to that. The department will go through, if the responsible party has been identified, and if they have insurance, we will go through a claims process, right, as well. It'll be with the responsible party or their insured, right, insurer. I imagine we'll experience some of the same frustration with those people saying, well, you know, if your pole wasn't in there, it wouldn't have been in the way. The person wouldn't have hit it. You know, no one stepping to the front of the line saying, you know, we're going to pay for this without finding out the facts. So we're going to follow the claim process, the legal process for our damages, and I've got information here that was prepared for me to give you guys as far as filing the claim. I can't tell you that if you spend time and effort and frustration filing a claim, the department's going to say, oh, we're going to pay for that. It wasn't, in my mind, right? I'm not an investigator and I'm not a claims agent, right? It wasn't like one of our employees doing something negligent that caused this, right? We do have a policy that, you know, if we're responsible for something, right, that we own up to it, right? I can't tell you how this is going to shake out, right? But I can give you the information to contact the people, right, that make those decisions.
That information would be great if we had it and we can put it out through our various social media and website for those people who are having like the file. So if that information you have, that'd be great. If you have it electronically, I'll give you my email address.
So
Taryn, you and I spoke, and you must have...
I can send it to you in an email.
All right. And I appreciate you being here. I'm not sure if you have something you'd like to contribute to the conversation.
No, I feel like he wrapped it up very nicely. The information that I did have was the specificities of, you know, the claims and all, but I can definitely wrap that up nicely for you and send it to you in an email so it's all in one place and you can distribute it to those who are affected in the area.
That would be appreciated. So I'm going to let John have one last question, and then I'm going to go to Chris here, and then we'll give an opportunity for anybody in the audience to ask a question.
I've lived in that area for a long time. They rebuilt most of the transformer on Gaffey. We used to have a lot of power outages, not surges, outages. Okay, this is a whole different ballgame than an outage. It's a surge. Okay, I think what happened was that the port was causing a lot of the outages for that whole area, and they revamped it, and it seems like it's not as bad. We don't have that many outages in that area. Okay, this surge is a whole different ballgame. It seems to me, I don't know what that bigger number was, that one higher one and one lower one, was the higher one due to the port that it services or the whole area it services, and why isn't there, like my speakers in my car, I got a high power stereo, and before it blows out, I got a cutoff switch. Shouldn't there be something like that?
There are.
Okay, so why didn't it work?
So, cutoff switches, breakers, fuses, unless you're talking about manual disconnect, like the Desmond Bridge, right, that physically separates something, right? Current is what that's limiting, a breaker or a fuse, right? This was voltage. It was over voltage. It doesn't sense voltage.
There's no way to stop it.
You know, not that I'm aware of in a power distribution circuit, right? I can tell you that if we had a problem in our station and our feeder circuit was putting out high voltage, we get alarms at like 10 or 12%, right? It's not going to shut it off, but we know there's something wrong, and we send an operator there to regulate. Right?
Let me go one step forward. We had the Sansanina blow up, and after that blew up, they opened up all kinds of different places so they can service the damages. Oil spots on people's cars, oil spots on people's jackets, broken windows, the whole bit. They took care of it. I don't know where they got the money from, but they took care of it. I'm sure there's funds that you can take care of something like this, or you can put into it and cover these people for electrical damage that nobody has any control over. These guys don't have any control over their meters or everything like that. My meter's grounded. They all should be grounded, correct? Most electrical that goes to your house is grounded, but it overpowered all that. There's a problem. I think there's a problem.
Okay, Chris, and then we can go out to the committee.
Thanks. You answered part of my question in advance about in terms of the department and ultimately the city going after the responsible party. And in reference to the other comments in terms of customer service, it seems like there's an opportunity while maintaining kind of legal insulation, to the pun intended, for the department to maybe provide at least the information on the responsible party and their insurance. But if, let's say, the residents who have suffered obviously significant damages, if they need to form a class, or as opposed to going after the insurance company individually, which might be prohibitive, if the department has some resources, if not, obviously not to represent homeowners, but to help them get that information, or to give them some, non-legal advice on how to organize themselves so that they don't have to go individually to do that. I think it might possibly bridge a gap between taking responsibility for something that's not the department's responsibility, or just kind of stiff-arming people who, you really, by your own policy, aren't prepared to compensate.
Well said. So, as I understand it, and the talking points that were prepared regarding our claims, I think that if I was in your shoes, I think that that's the avenue that I would go. Right? I would go through the claims process. Right? You're going to document your damage. You're going to provide proof or evidence, right? Pictures, like anything else. Right? Yeah. And then the department's going to assess whether they're responsible or someone else. Now, I would think that if you're making the determination that the department, if claims was saying the department's not responsible, the only way to be able to say that with truth would be to know who was.
Right.
So I would hope that would come through the claims department. I don't want to leave. I don't want to feed you a line, and then you have me back and say you said.
No, I understand that. And again, it's really more a suggestion because I don't know if that's something. I mean, like you said, this probably happens to some degree on a continuous basis throughout a very large city. But short of cutting checks to everybody, at least helping them, organize their own resources. And obviously the advice, most people know, like if you have homeowners policy, whatever, you're going to have to do some documentation. But there's so many people affected that, it should at least kind of point them in the right direction.
And renters are very vulnerable.
Thank you. I saw a hand or two going up. Okay, there's one right behind there. Is that Adrian? Adrian, can you come up to the microphone and ask your question?
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, board. My name is Adrian. If you don't know who I am, I'm speaking as a stakeholder and a resident. I like to ask. This is for the community engagement officer. More. I like to ask about the updates when it comes to power lines. Like Ray, I was one of the many residents who was out of power for about 28 hours. Right, and I called customer service and asking about times and everything. And every time I called, there was a different answer. I never got one specific answer on what is going on. I heard about the maps, right? With the interactive maps, I was told by a DWP employee that it updates every 5 minutes. And every time I looked at the interactive map, it had a pin saying that there was a car en route, or it said that it will be fixed tomorrow at 7 p.m., or there was no pin at all. I would just kind of ask DWP in situations like these, how are you making sure that people like myself who work from home, who do school from home, who depend on electricity, how are you giving them the right information about the about that outage in front of their home? Thank you.
So to speak to that question, a lot of the outages that we get, especially those that are as large scale as the one that we're currently speaking on, they can be subjective, especially due to a out of circumstance situation like the impact to the pole, and then other elements that are contributing, such as the heat wave again, or the electrical systems themselves, overheating or pulling apart, etc. Those specific timelines that you get once you call and connect with the customer service representative, they can drastically change in a matter of those 5 to 10 minutes. And so that's why we do have social media platforms that we do like to, keep our customers informed with. Again, to the power outage, we do try our best to update them those 5 to 10 minutes, but the information we get to update those channels are due to the amount of calls that we get in and the amount of inquiries that we get in through our social media platforms or calling to the community representative centers. So, not saying nobody did call, but say, if the volume of calls that we're getting is not matching the impact level, then it might not shake out the same as what you were told.
Hang on. I'm sorry, what was that?
He would like a question, if that's fine.
Do we have any more questions from the community? Any other questions? Okay, one follow-up. I'm sorry.
So then with that being said, I just kind of want to ask kind of the process between when you get a call. What is the process between, how does it get into the map? Is it, when someone calls, does, the data or whatever automatically put it in the map, or does someone physically have to go in, depend on whether amount how many calls are coming in, to put it in the map and make sure it's accurate. So I'm just asking, how the information gets to the map.
Yes, okay. So in regards to how the information gets to the map, so say you, for instance, you would have to call the customer service center directly or inquire through our website, and then the customer service center would bring it to me, for example, someone on the community affairs team, and then we would bring it to our manager, and then myself and my manager would bring it to whatever operational team would be sent out to disperse their crew to fix that outage or whatever other situation. And during that timeline, the electrical team who is plugged into the system will go in and put it on the map. So that way you'll be updated while it's happening. So it's kind of like a step-by-step process. It has to go through someone and be approved, to go through to someone else and be approved, and so on and so forth, so that we can properly and accurately inform the public with that information. That's also why it takes a bit of time, because we want to make sure whatever information we are putting out is not just on a whim, and that it's the most accurate, and up-to-date information that we can provide to our customers, so that you guys are as aware as possible. So I hope that answers your question.
There is a difference between an outage and a surge, correct?
Yes.
The question is there a difference, or her explanation of how it progresses through? Is it different?
Is there a difference between an outage and a surge? This was a surge. This is a surge of electricity that went through people's homes.
So at some point, when that equipment fails, somebody's going to be out. Whether it's going to be, transformer, multiple transformers, then we lump that into what we call a neighborhood. So we do circuit outages. So when that wire broke and it flipped up, it did what we call, it operated that circuit breaker, that fuse, and it does what they call a lockstop. So it turns itself off. The circuit breaker in a station opens. So on a surge, until the transformer fails, until the wire gets together, it doesn't know to turn off. But the surge has already happened at that point, So we won't know when there's a surge until we start getting the calls from the damage that's been done, either to our equipment or to yours.
The surge come first or the outage come first?
John, if I can, if there are extended conversation you'd like to have, maybe you can take it outside, but we have to move the agenda
This is
on,
important,
okay?
so people know, so they can file a claim or what they want to do.
We
That's
do
what
need
we're
to-
here
I'm
for.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm
We
here
do
for.
need
That's
to
what I was
move on.
elected for.
And that's why you can certainly take it to take it outside, because we really need
Is
to.
that a relevant question? Was it worth it?
So we're going to thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope we weren't too scary out there. But anything you'd like to send, I could send out, please.
Yes. Thank you for having us. I have your email. I'll have the claims information, as well as the gentleman here, the customer service representative information as well, and any other details I feel like will be helpful so that you guys can continue that process. I also took some notes to bring to my manager of concerns that you guys had, and hopefully we can get something moving with that as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Could I suppose any other questions or comments might be directed through us to you, or how would you get extra feedback regarding this issue? Oh, well.
I'll share. I'll ask that question, and then we'll have continued conversation if it's if you would like.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Terry's going to get you the information on all the process. All right, well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 4, homelessness liaison report. Lori.
Hello again.
Lori, before you start, if I can, I hear a lot of voices out there in the audience, Can we please keep it down? Really appreciate it. Go ahead, Laurie.
Okay, thank you. It's hard to sit through all this stuff. I get it. As usual on my report, I have information on if you see somebody experiencing homelessness or a mental health crisis, how to report it either through the LA HOP portal or through contacting the Circle team. The Circle team so far are advertising that their response time has been about 20 to 30 minutes from the inquiries they're getting. The CD15 working group, unfortunately, his meeting is happening right now at the same time. That meeting today is strictly going over Measure A, which is a big part of my report. So I've told them they should check with me before they schedule their meetings, but what are you going to do? Harbor Connects, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, they just launched a resource hub that now has information for covering all of CD15 that connects individuals directly to resources, mentoring, or advocacy. So I have in my report a list of all the different categories. So if perhaps it's a situation with a senior, LGBTQ, domestic violence, etc., that is experiencing a problem, mental health, you would click on that category and it takes you to a list of resources in the area. Okay, and then within there, they give you information on how to contact those organizations. It's brand new, it's evolving. If you get on that hub and you have any comments on how to improve it, I'd be glad to relate that information. The second part of my report is on Measure A, and I'm giving you basically information on here, and I'm only reporting on measures that affect homelessness, housing, things like that. And most of you know, because I've spoke before, that Measure A is a replacement for Measure H, which will sunset in a couple of years, and it's an increase from a quarter-cent sales tax to a half-a-cent sales tax. So in my report, I'm not going to go in great detail. It has understanding how the measure works, which is important, the history behind it, and it's got information on people who support it and people who don't support it. I suggest if you haven't voted yet that you do your research, go on and learn. It's a complicated measure. Okay, and if anybody has questions afterwards, I'd be glad to answer that. It's a very important measure for resources. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I have information on if you know somebody or you are experiencing domestic violence. This is one of the most common reasons that people end up experiencing homelessness. So, I mean, to me, every month should be Domestic Violence Awareness. So the election, hopefully there's some 18-year-olds in here who have registered to vote and some that are over 18 that are registered to vote. So you had to register by last night, so if you didn't, that's the way it goes. But hopefully you will take the time to read through a lot of these. Another measure or proposition that directly affects housing is Proposition 33. It's actually, I'm going to say, very difficult to understand this one. You watch all the commercials, you'll see commercials for and against, both saying the same thing, that it's not helping with affordable housing. It's extremely difficult to go through the propaganda and understand it. I look at what the League of Women Voters put out, because they put out unbiased information, pro and con. And in my report, I have what's on in the sample ballot talking about what a yes vote and what a no vote means. But it's not easy to understand. I always, encourage people to be responsible when they're voting and do your research, but it's rather complicated. I have information on a relatively new city council motion here that talks about the rules on just cause for eviction ordinance. There's been some loopholes with substantial remodels giving landlords an opportunity to evict people, and they're trying to, what I'm getting from this council file is they're trying to rectify and clarify some of those things. So I'll wait and follow it and see what the city council has to say about that. That's mainly what I have to report this month, because with it as an election before our next meeting, there are other measures on the ballot that will affect mental health, housing, homelessness, And as always, I'm going to remind you guys that this is a humanitarian issue. While the homeless count numbers were an improvement, there's still a lot of issues happening that give me great concern that we're a long ways away from having enough housing for people out there and mental health care. And I'm following Proposition 1 and the Care Court to see where they go with that in getting more facilities for people experiencing problems with mental health. So I'll continue to keep you advised. And I ask this time if anybody has specific areas that they'd like me to report on regarding homelessness, because I just hit on some things each month, just shoot me an email and I'll research it and include it in the report. Okay?
Thank you, Lori. As always, your reports, I really ask people to read the reports. It's loaded with information. It's really important information for those experiencing homelessness. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Any questions from around the table? John?
Lori, Monday I had a meeting, you know, the board meeting at the Assistance League. And Bob, our treasurer, he walks from 7th Street School. And when he got over, just as he turned onto Weymouth, there's an alley right there between 7th and that. A lady ran over another lady. Now, I'm not sure if it was homeless. They were sleeping there. I don't know if you know anything about it. But yeah, the person died, of course. The car they had to take it off with the tow truck. We're not sure. That's why we haven't found anything out. I haven't heard anything yet. But we believe it was a homeless that was sleeping in the alley part there and didn't see him.
That's one of the dangers of people being out on the streets. I'm not familiar with that, John. I'll see if I can find out anything. That's horrible.
Any other questions from around the table? Gwen?
I wanted to second Ray's comment. Your reports are always so full of valuable information, and I hope that anyone who's here might actually take a look at Lori's homelessness report. It is a wealth of information. Now, with the Resources Hub, is that for anyone to utilize in the community? And is there also resources for college students who often experience homelessness?
So it's a really good question. The intent with the Resource Hub was to have information for people in need, homelessness or whatever, and for service providers or somebody who just sees somebody and wants to help them. They developed a QR code. Okay, I didn't put it on here, but if you go to the Harbor Connects, there's a QR code so they can constantly keep updating this rather than having a printed hub. And you're asking about college.
Lori, just a minute. Hey, you guys were told not to be loud. We can barely hear her.
It's not them. It's in the hallway. These guys are amazing.
I can't hear Lori.
As far as there's information on education and school supplies, but I do not, it says youth development and after school, but you're asking specifically like college students?
If there's a resource for college students for finding food networks, many of the city colleges that are around do provide some of those resources, but if that could also be, provided by our neighborhood.
I actually don't even see food pantries on here either. I will talk to Megan.
Wonderful.
Because those should be on here. I will tell you that I've just glanced through this, a lot going on. I'm not really pleased because in each category, they've got them listed in alphabetic order. And I'm going to talk to them if they could put them in a priority order. So if your issue is with seniors, you don't have to read through 12 organizations, some of which only do a little bit with seniors. If they could put them in a priority order so it's more of a useful tool. Also, I did not notice them putting LA Hop on here on the hub or the Circle team. So I didn't want to come out right away and criticize it. I haven't used it myself, but those are both two things. So college students, as far as getting housing and food, and also it would be nice if they could have food distribution in food pantries and pet food pantries.
Yeah.
In fact, there should be something in here for pets.
Yeah.
Rhea, it's okay to do a follow-up with this because it was about homelessness. Last time you were here and I mentioned it. Once again, animal services struggles with animals who have been given over by those who are unhoused or threatened to be unhoused. I was wondering if there was any data that was my question a while ago. If there was a data set that, as people were being taken in, of how many had pets and what had occurred, or when somebody is removed off of the street and maybe their RV, if they had pets, what happened to the pets, what's really, really important is that vulnerable group that is housing insecure, that releases their pets. Now, most people are kind of ashamed of the fact that they've given away their pet, and they say, I found the pet and he's lost. But the data would be really great to capture, so to give this could be part of the homelessness thing.
So let me see if I could answer some of what you just, I can unpack that. Yeah. 99% of the shelters out there now will accept a pet when they get somebody in there. There's been cases where somebody has 3 dogs and they can't necessarily do that, but they accept cats, dogs, bunnies, hamsters, all those things. They have facilities for them. I work with somebody in the Harbor Gateway who does a lot of RV encampment help, and he always gets animal control when they have some of the pathway home with the county, or the what's the city one called? Safe. I forgot. Anyway, it's basically the same thing. They're trying to coordinate having animal control when they're going to the encampment, so they can evaluate the animals and see if they're capable of taking care of them. So I think it's being addressed. As far as data, I'll be real honest with you, Gwen. As much as I care about the animals, I think the data on the animals isn't as critical as the data on the families and the people that need to get housed. So I don't know. LASA just came out with a new dashboard. You want to take time to go take a look at it. It just came out recently, and they've got key performance indexes and things like that. I don't remember seeing anything about animals. I ask you guys, do you think that's important data to track? I don't.
It is if it ends up in animal services and they're inundated by the animals. I would think, or if they are released, if there is a feral community, feral.
I've been at RV encampments where we had to get some very emaciated animals out of there, and we got them help. So that's all I can tell you.
Any other questions from around the table? None. Any questions from our audience? Okay, Lori, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for letting me be of service.
All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, elected governmental and public safety representatives. I don't see anyone in uniform unless there's someone here working undercover that we don't know about. Make yourself known. Elected officials, we have one person, but just to make sure, anybody else from the government would like to make a report? No? I'd like to introduce Eric Ponce Furlos to this, representing Al Marisucci from the 66th District. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, students. My name is Eric Ponce. I am here on behalf of Assembly Member Al Marisucci, who represents the 66th Assembly District. For students who do not know, he covers the San Pedro, the Palos Verdes Peninsula, Manhattan, Redondo, Hermosa, Torrance, Lomita, Gardena, and El Segundo cities. 500,000 residents. And I'm just here to provide an update and just to address some concerns that we have been hearing from the community. We have been hearing from constituents regarding the confusion and concerns on Western Avenue, the cones, the missing medians, and I'm just here to address some of the questions and just provide an update on the project that's going on. So Caltrans, and for students, that is the California Department of Transportation. It's excuse me. They're actually working on a project on Western Avenue that stretches from the Interstate 405 up in Torrance down to 25th Street in San Pedro. The project includes upgrades to ramps, sidewalks, pedestrian signal access, and lighting, making them ADA compliant. Again, for students, ADA stands for the American with Disabilities Act of 1990, which is basically a civil rights law that provides or prohibits discrimination based on your disability. So yes, the project will provide upgrades to and replace existing push buttons at cross streets, making them accessible for the blind, the deaf, and those that are physically immobile. It also relocates street lighting, transformers, power poles, traffic signals, and roadside signs. It also reconstructs the medians for pedestrian and cyclist safety. So you all might have seen some missing medians on First Street and Weymouth, Westmont, and Peninsula Drive North. So those are a few medians that are being worked on. Last, the project also includes a Class 2 bike lane from from Palos Verdes Drive North up or down to 25th Street, all of Western. We were also told, and we've been hearing from constituents, that Caltrans didn't do a very good job at notifying the community about the projects or the hearings. I do want to say that Councilmember McCosker was actually present at the June 12th hearing. He did relay the concerns that the community had been relaying to him regarding parking. We understand that there is a lot of projects with the St. Vincent Thomas project. A lot of repair and construction happening here in San Pedro, so we do understand that, it has caused a lot of traffic and parking issues. We just wanted to relay that Caltrans will be communicating with our office, Assemblymember Muratucci's office, and Councilmember McCosker to better provide updates to the community. We do commit to that. And I'm just ready to take any questions if you all have any.
Okay, if I can, I want to make sure that in the essence of time, if we can keep our questions maybe one, and so we can make it all around because we have quite a few here. So I don't know who was first, but I'm just going to start with Vic. You do? You were first. Yeah. No, actually, Chris was first.
Hi, thank you very much. And you touched upon, I think, what a lot of us are most concerned about broadly is the timeliness, transparency, and thoroughness of outreach from Caltrans. And I know it's a fairly dilute process from a statewide agency down to an assembly member's particular district. But I think the harbor area, especially considering its sort of strategic importance in terms of goods movement, the number of people who live here, and the dilapidated condition of a lot of our infrastructure before these projects even got on the calendar. It would be appreciated for sure, if not like sort of vital and probably helpful to the process, if Caltrans could make a more ongoing or dedicated resource person for the harbor area. They talk all the time about how many goods, how much of the economy goes across our bridges and our roads, and I think that justifies more than an incidental kind of commitment to talking about us. And with respect to what's happening on Western, now that having heard from you, it makes a lot more sense. But that information, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think would have put a lot of fires out before they had a chance to start. So thanks for letting us know that. And again, a little bit of prevention is much easier than fixing the things after the fact.
No, thank you for bringing that up. And yes, Caltrans did not do a very good job. We did not do a very good job at also providing this information to San Pedro. So we will, again, commit to doing better.
Thank you.
Next, I have Gwen. Vic is next.
Well, actually, it was Vic, but I'll be quick.
Please.
What is a Class 2 bicycle lane? And when Caltrans promised to filter it to you, filter it to Tim McCosker, then down the chain, that sounds a little bit slow. Well, have they communicated anything about signage to inform people before the project? That's something that we are looking at for the VTB bridge, but something that is informative, well in it before the North Palos Verdes, where people in different directions that will be turning onto it. Is there any signage possible? But I would love to hear what a Class 2 bike lane is.
So a Class 2 bike lane, and I'm not an expert on this, but I believe it's just a bike lane that is around 4 feet. There are those bike lanes that have like multiple lines dividing them. I believe this one only has one. Again, I'm not a full expert, but it seems to be a smaller bike lane than those that take up way more space.
So there's no division between them and the traffic, because I got to honestly say that Western, I hope that Caltrans is also taking studies of the speed that people are going, because there have been 2 trucks that have fallen into Ponte Vista's fence.
I'm sure there's a lot of studies happening. Again, I'm not an expert on this. That is what I know of the Class 2 bike lanes.
Yeah.
And then to answer your second question, I'm sorry, would you mind repeating it? I didn't fully grasp.
If there was signage that would be in advance of coming down to North Palos Verdes to inform people.
I can touch base with Caltrans on that to make sure that they provide signage, and again,
And we would like to hear that from them.
provide our office and McCosker's office with any updates. We'll be providing these updates to the neighborhood councils. I'm sure McCosker will be doing the same. It's better that it comes from 2 people than only from 1, so that in case we miss something and whatnot. But yeah, we'll touch base with Caltrans regarding signage. We'll make sure they have some up.
Next, I have Vic.
Mine's a quick one. You mentioned the bike lane was going from PV Drive north to 25th Street, which implies southbound only. Is it actually on both sides, or is it just one side?
I believe it will be on both sides. I'm not too sure on that, but I can follow up with Caltrans on that information and send it to Ray. I also forgot to mention that the entire project from the Interstate 405 down to 25th Street will actually end in spring of 2025, but the work here in San Pedro, this area, will actually be done by the end of this year. And I actually have a calendar that I'll email to Ray of the dates that they will be working on certain streets and whatnot, so that you all are aware of that. But again, here in San Pedro, they will finish by the end of this year.
Thank you. Okay. Melanie?
So the transparency thing would have been good, like Chris said, because everybody, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, heard the construction stuff going on. And that was, I got a lot of phone calls that day asking me if I knew anything about it, and messages. The other thing is Councilman McCosker knows about this, and the state probably needs to look at this at the Weymouth Corner intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out and looked at it. They have 2 lanes turning left, and so only 1 lane can turn, and people are like this trying to go into each other. And there's been 2 accidents the other day, almost back to back over there, because you've got the regular lane and you got the other lane, and people are trying to fill in because both lanes can't turn. So it's very confusing, and it needs to be clear where's the turn lane and where isn't the turn lane.
Yeah, even temporary striping would be helpful, just so that people visually know which way they're going.
Okay.
Because it's created a big mess there. The other question is, do you have a map of what the bike lanes are going to look like? Are they actual bike lanes like we have, or are they doing the shared lanes?
So we do not have that map yet. Our office did request full plans and full, basically just like a full plans to share, but yeah, we do not have those plans yet, and we'll make them available to the council once.
Thomas?
Thank you for coming. One request I would have is regular monthly updates to this neighborhood council, probably all the neighborhood councils that are affected in the assembly members' district on these construction projects. And I'd like to call, for you or a representative, at least on a quarterly basis, to come to take questions. Serving on our Port Environmental Sustainability Committee, and we had conversations about the state projects there that aren't Northwest San Pedro, but would affect any of the students there that can go to Long Beach and go across the bridge. I was horrified to find that the state representatives, like even in the Port of LA, right, which spends a lot of time, their engineers spend all their time thinking about roads, didn't know about Western, and didn't know about things. So my thought would be, if the assembly member being closer, having better oversight over the state, even would share with our president, Ray, list as things are coming up, to just email those and then quarterly be available for these detailed questions, because I am learning information right now that we should have known before, and would make the community a lot more prepared to deal with this and make your visits a lot easier. So just a request there. And if the assembly member has taken a position on the Vincent Thomas Bridge, I know the council member has. I know I've sent notes to your office and asked him to do, I think, in a different public forum. So I think a lot of us are very curious, too, on that. And if there's anything he can do to try to speed up any of those options, because that's going to be very disruptive for, I bet you, everybody here in the audience, as well as this board. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Definitely going forward, I will be attending and providing more updates to the community.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I just want to clarify for myself. I've never heard of this person representing San Pedro. I mean, Palos Verdes on that way, I can see, but he doesn't represent San Pedro, does he?
Yeah. He does. He represents, so San Pedro's actually split in two. It's split between Gaffey and up to 19th Street. So we represent we call it the Upper Gaffey area, and Mike Gibson actually represents downtown San Pedro area. We do get cut off right on the 110 at the Wilmington refinery. That's where our boundary is.
So anything this way of 19th Street is somebody else's district?
I'm sorry.
Any area, let's say.
Think of it of Gaffey.
In 19th Street.
Yeah,
in 19th Street. Anything first through 19th is a different district.
That's
different
right.
area. So we're just concentrating from 19th Street to 25th Street. Basically, that's under this councilman's name.
Muratsuchi, correct.
And who does the rest?
The rest is Assembly Member Mike Gibson.
Mike Gibson?
Yes.
And how far is he involved?
In regards to?
The whole system, the whole Caltrans and what's happening on Western.
Well,
the rest of the way.
I'm not sure that the Western Avenue does not run on his part of the district, so that's our jurisdiction. But I really haven't seen his office get involved with Caltrans issues. I may be mistaken, but I personally have not seen.
So you represent all of Western, all the way down?
Yes, my member, yes. He covers all of Western.
Okay. Any other questions from around the table? No hands? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Lori?
Okay. I appreciate you being here, Eric. Yeah, I'm very familiar with our assembly member. And I appreciate the information you're sharing here. And you heard a lot about the transparency. So if Caltrans already knew when this work was scheduled, you're saying there's a calendar. So I think what everybody is a little frustrated with, that it wasn't published, that we had to beg for this information. And it just this is not a reflection necessarily on your office, but it makes us a little skeptical of having confidence when we have to ask for information. It always makes us stakeholders feel better when information is proactively supplied to us. So I appreciate you said that there's going to be a calendar, and I appreciate you showing up, and you can see there was a lot of concern because people woke up and they're on autopilot. They're not like, oh my God, the lines moved, the left turn lane moved. It's just the nature of the beast. So any proactive information, and I don't know if it would help, but can they put up signs ahead of time saying this lane will be changing in 1 week. I don't know if that type of work's ever done.
We can let Caltrans know.
Okay, I just think it would help people not to just wake up one day and, they're driving kids to school and they're like, hey, what happened? But proactive, definite information. So I always appreciate what the Assembly member does for us. Thank you.
And just to end it, I do have some fact sheet and an advisory notice that was released by Caltrans if anyone cares more information. Thank you.
And we appreciate Al Marisucci being there. When there was a big Caltrans presentation here, and Al was participating in that, and that was greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, how's it going, buddy?
Hi.
Hey, they have, I know that DOT has all the signs, like when they'll put up, that says September 5th through November 20th, they're going to be doing road work. They always put them up a month and ahead of time. Why couldn't they do that this time?
I'm actually not sure, sir. Again, we will be touching base with Caltrans regarding that issue. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll follow up with the council and relay all this information.
Any other? No? Eric, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I think you got the full brunt of everything that's going on with us. And
thank you for the opportunity to just clear some confusion, and we hope we can go forward from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, give it up for him.
Yeah, we can. All right, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. We have two items for approval. That is the minutes for approval for September 9th, and then our retreat minutes for September 29th.
Just as a point of information for our students, consent calendar are action items, things that the board votes on that are considered non-controversial. So it's typically kind of our internal processes and official, making our minutes from the previous meeting official and things like that. And we'll go on to other action items that require either motions or votes to approve.
So, do need to remove any one of those two from consideration? No? Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second, Norman.
That was Gwen first.
Comment? See no hands? Can we call for the vote?
And also, just for the record, Angela Sumner arrived at 6:47 p.m. So on the consent calendar, John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio.
No.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Yavi Norman. Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
That's 10 ayes and 1 nay.
All right. That takes care of our consent calendar. We're going to move on to motions. We'll start off with Budget and Finance Committee.
Vic, so for eligibility for voting, was there any non-eligible?
Ray, unless you completed some training today, you are not eligible to vote on funding issues.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Everybody else is.
Thank you for calling me out.
Anytime.
You should be checking that, Ray.
I thought I was up to date.
Another quick point of information. All the board members on neighborhood councils are required to do the same ethics and training that any other elected official in the state of California does. So we're volunteers, but we still get elected in public elections, and we have the same basic procedural rules, but we don't get paid.
And we're as responsible.
Okay, so page 16 is the MER, and this is not out of committee because it wasn't available. So everyone take a look. We've got $32,858.29 left in the budget. So, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh.
Thomas Norman.
Thomas?
Second.
Second is Chris.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Vic Christensen?
Aye.
John DeMeglio?
Yes.
Gwen Henry?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Angela?
Yes.
Chris Vallier?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Next is the budget, and that is on page, where is it?
18.
These are
18.
all, oh, here we go, page 18. So the same, 32,85829. Unallocated neighborhood council funds, there's $10,460.53. This is out of committee, so any discussion? Okay, so we'll call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Vic?
Aye.
John DeMeglio?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Angela?
Yes.
Chris Vallier?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Next item is for Candy Cane Lane for sponsorship for $1,000. This is to approve the allocated money that has been already allocated on the budget on under outreach, line 1, Candy Cane Lane, $1,000. This is approving the use of that money. This is not out of committee, so I'm going to need a motion.
So moved.
I'll move
Norman.
it.
Thomas?
Second.
John Barbera. People, sorry.
Motion Thomas. Second John. Okay. Any discussion?
Quick bit of discussion. Just for the audience, seeing you can't see it on the screen and you might not have printed your agendas, some of you have probably gone to Candy Cane Lane in Weymouth. So that's what we're voting on, right? How the money comes for that, the crafts, the candy and such that you have. So just wanted to call to the community's attention what we're voting on. So just a comment there to, I think that might be something some of you would appreciate, knowing that we do.
The invoice is over on page 19 also, if you want to look at it from Candy Cane. Gwen?
I would love to hear a little clarification of what the description is for the $1,000. It sounded a little, I wasn't sure who that was directed to. We will advertise your support.
That's what they're going to do for us.
Okay. And I'm hoping that in the future, I remember that we were going to these kind of decorations because of COVID, where we had to have packaged things that the kids could do for crafts on their own. I'm hoping that we can consider something different, possibly something greener in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Call for the vote. Any more? All righty. So Thomas?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Vic?
Aye.
John DeMeglio? Yes. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Angela?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
And what is the date of the event? One more time.
December 6th.
So everybody who's here, go to Weymouth Corners on December 6th.
From 5 to 9.
New
Yes,
pet
December
ornaments
6th.
this year.
Music. All sorts of fun.
Lots of food.
Food.
Okay, the next item is these little pictures of the ornaments, and the flyer is on the back of the last ornament before the minutes.
2022.
It says example, and then the candy canes, I just guess didn't make it in there, the box of candy canes. There's a box of candy canes, too.
We don't have leftovers?
That has 500 in them as example. But this is a motion that is not out of committee. It's to approve the use of the $200 allocated to buy candy canes and craft supplies.
So moved by Gwen.
Second by me.
Second, John.
Who is me?
Me is John.
Okay.
John who? Barbera.
So any discussion?
Really?
So call for the vote. Thomas?
100% in favor of candy canes? Yes.
John Barbera?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
John DeMeglio?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Angela?
Yes.
Chris Follier?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, last one. This is to approve use for $500 for the holiday parade, St. Peter Holiday Parade that we participate in every year.
Is this out of committee?
And this is not out of committee.
So moved.
So Gwen move.
Second.
Chris?
Chris?
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the
Are we going to sign up? When is this, and when are we going to sign
December
up?
1st is the parade, and John will take names of whoever.
I will have it, as soon as I know from Elise what's going, when she has it set up, I will make the list out and who wants to sign up.
We have a banner to walk. in
Still
front
have
of
the same
thing.
banner that we use every year.
Okay.
Do we know if we'll get the trolley?
We just have to pay her before she'll give us
Oh, I
any
know we'll get the
information.
trolley because I wrote the letter and sent it out. So, yeah, we will. And I asked for the trolley with the good windows that come down.
The ones that
Okay,
can come down.
so call for the vote.
Well, last year they thought Cousin It was in the trolley because of
Thomas?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Victor.
John DeMeglio?
Yes.
Gwen?
Aye.
Melanie, yes. Angela?
Yes.
Chris Follier?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
So how many are planning to participate in the
it.
parade? Any kids? Any one of you are going to participate in the parade?
No,
on, it's
usually
fine.
just board members.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. That's the President's meeting with the Port of Los Angeles.
Can keep that brief. It went dark, so no report.
Oh, did we have?
Question?
Is there a comment or? I'm sorry. Oh, never mind. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll repeat it. Very brief report. The port was dark, so there was no meeting, so there's no report.
Okay, so agenda item number 9. We have a few items underneath 9. Budget and Finance Committee. Any reports? Budget Advocate.
Budget Advocate, we're starting to work on the white paper, and Thomas, if you're interested in joining on any of the reports, I'm doing the port, and so is Cheryl. We're both doing the port. If you would like to join in and help write the report for that, that would be wonderful if you would want to do that for the white paper for Budget Advocates.
Sure.
Also, Cheryl's doing animal services, and you aren't? And she is going to put me on there too, so we can do animal services since we got the situation here in the harbor area. And then the other one that we're doing, I got put on again, is economic workforce development. She asked me to do it because I did it before, and so she wants me to do it again. And then I've got emergency preparedness.
I'm willing to help with the port and the workplace one. I have expertise in those.
You would like to do that? That would be great to help out with that one.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen any emails or anything, so please.
I'll send you
email
some
me how
emails.
that- Okay.
I was surprised to find out on medical services, so it's just started.
Okay.
Oh, you might want to explain what the white paper is to the audience.
Oh, the white paper. What is it? The white paper is all the departments in the city. The budget advocates are elected within the realms of neighborhood councils. They're people that are elected to basically advocate for the things that each city departments have on their budgets to get the things to have the city be more fiscally responsible in the way that they're spending the city money, as well as make sure that things go notice that each department needs, and there needs to advocate for them. So we meet, each of us take departments that we meet with and write what's called a white paper, and we write like basically their wishes and what we recommend as budget advocates after listening to their wishes and what the budget looks like. We have input on that too after listening and what we've evaluated by looking at the budget. And it goes into this big book that's distributed that we print every year. And it's pretty awesome. It actually is pretty awesome if you ever look at one. And I'll get some to bring to the neighborhood council once we distribute it this time. So.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move youth and outreach up to the next item.
Thanks. This is real brief, and I asked to get bumped up because we do still have a lot of students here, and the focus of our committee, which is youth and outreach, is younger people. We are, as was mentioned earlier in the agenda, we're looking for someone to replace the awesome Abby Norman as our youth representative, and there is information available on if you're age eligible, how to apply for that. But I want to just extend an open invitation for those of you who still may have service hours to satisfy or some issue in your neighborhood that you're interested in pursuing. Youth and Outreach Committee is a great place to begin to learn how city government operates. We do this on a very, obviously, kind of basic level, but it is like if you have any curiosity about it, it's a good place to start. If you go to NWSPNC.org, that's our website, which has our monthly calendars saying when the meetings will be, and you can find the agendas to find out what we're talking about. If there's something you'd like to get on the agenda, you can email board at NWSPNC. And I'm actually, I realized as I was writing this, I need to come up with an email address for our committee specifically. But to get more general information, you can follow us on Instagram at NW San Pedro. We also have a YouTube channel, which is mostly recordings of our meetings. And back when we were on Zoom, there's archived videos of that. But if we have any other videos, for instance, we have a video for the Day of Peace recently, Dr. Goodall's lecture. So anything that we can put from somewhere between 0 and 100 interest, if you follow us there, that's where you can find out at least like what we've laid down. Thomas?
Yep. I wanted to thank your committee. I'd served on that committee my first 2 years. And for the youth listening, please consider not only running for the seat, but you also could consider trying to just serve on the committee. That's not elected. That could be from the recommendation of the committee members themselves. In terms of service hours, that can be very important for those juniors trying to build hours. I know because Abby was the first of her in her family of two brothers to realize those hours helped her add up to a level of recognition at the congressional level, where our Congresswoman Nanette Barragan actually had her family go to D.C. to get a congressional award, the gold level award. And I'm hoping that committee member Abigail Norman might just talk a little bit about that to entice you. You also can get journalism experience because there's a newsletter you can work on. So it's really a fun opportunity for you to get some great skills and serve your community.
Yeah, so I serve on the Youth and Outreach Committee, and I'm a little sick right now, sorry. So the Congressional Award is a great opportunity for you guys to just put your hours in, and you could totally get so many cool awards with it. And all you have to add to that is just be physically fit, so have you'll have hours in that, and then you'll have hours in some form of personal development, which I did music or art. And then you have your hours, and you just have to get an advisor. And I really recommend it. It's a really great opportunity, and I was able to go to D.C. with it just because I was just doing what I was already doing, but logging it. So, thanks.
But it's because you had regular monthly meetings, right? Several hours from every council?
Yeah, I'm logging 3 hours right now with this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, got your attention. Yeah, so Abby's been great the entire, that's right. The entire Norman family has been been great contributors and partners and collaborators in everything the board's done since they showed up. So if you are career-minded, and I really would recommend at your age that you become career-minded, this is a good way to learn how to work within an organization. Technically, we're a nonprofit, we are a governmental organization, but you learn how this stuff works, and whether you pursue this as a career, it'll help you wherever it is that you go. To that end, and Thomas mentioned, we do have a newsletter that's published every year, at least one issue, and we're in conversations about how often that's going to happen, but we've moved more into other types of media, which I'm hoping will be more relevant to younger people who don't necessarily pick up a newspaper. But again, if you come by a youth and outreach committee meeting, which is where all of the work of the neighborhood councils are done, you can get a sense of what we are involved in. And I have kind of an active request for anybody who is able to bring us topics from the community and stories, for instance, that I'm going to try to make a more regular schedule of publishing things to Instagram, which is where people your age are going to more likely end up than looking at our website or reading an email blast or our print newsletter. And so I would like to have collaborators and contributors who can actually tell us what people your age are concerned about, as opposed to us kind of trying to figure it out or just putting out more generic messaging. So we're really trying to make youth and outreach more about outreach to youth and involving you in the process of doing that. And as far as the rest of our report, really the International Day of Peace was our big event this year, and most of our committee was directly involved all day. Lori Jacobs did a fantastic job on the working group to help get the infrastructure for that put together. Lori was the chair of the committee before John and I started running it, and she really kind of set a very high standard that we're trying to keep up with. So we appreciate that.
It's taken two of us to...
Yeah, exactly. It takes at least two of us to do what she did by herself. If you're interested, we have highlights from the Day of Peace event as a video on our YouTube channel or on Instagram, again, at NWSPNC Pedro, and we'll move it along from here. Thank you.
If I can just add my 2 cents, something that might make it relatable to most of you young people, or many of you young people out there. How many of you are familiar with the skate park down on Gaffney?
Channel Street Skate Park?
Channel Street, yeah. Let me tell you that it was them coming to us to help them get the support of the community to get that skateboard back online, because it was sitting there for so long, and it was, we heard it from the community, we heard it from the young people that they wanted that skateboard park back up and running, and we advocated for all you people who like to skateboard down there, and for the ones who came before you and the ones that will come after, to get that thing open. And it was open finally, and hopefully you all take advantage of it. So we don't know what you guys would like unless you tell us. And we're happy to carry the advocacy spear in your honor, so that we can get what is important to you all. So don't be afraid to talk to us so that we can get those things for you. And don't be afraid to participate, because that's where we really get the work done, is when you're there helping us get things done. So thank you for that.
Hang on, Rick. Because, the youth and outreach, what we do, Chris and I, it has to do with a lot of what's going on in the community. Movie in the park, Gwen puts on, which hopefully we'll get to start again with some of the community stuff. But it's if you guys have anything that you want to see happen, that you'd like to see some sort of program, Youth and Outreach is where you're going to do it. And just like he said, fourth Monday of every month, we have a meeting. So just keep an eye on the website.
And those hours count too.
Okay. Public Safety Committee?
We didn't have a meeting this month because my mother was in the hospital and I was staying with her. But one thing I did want to bring up that is a public safety for an email that I received, it looks like Phillips 66 in 2025 is going to be closing. they are going to be shutting down. From Nancy Perez, their Communications and Public Affairs, I received an email this morning from her stating that they are closing the fourth quarter of 2025, closing down, and they're going to continue as they resource out and start to shut down their community funding and all of that they've done, and advisory panel, and the JAC for Halloween. But after that, it's hard to say what's going to happen. There's a transition thing in LA Times that there's some sort of transition that some property people are going to be involved in it. So I don't know what the plans are really for the site, but I'm going to have her come. I'm going to try for our next board meeting and see if she can come and explain some stuff to everybody in the stakeholders.
That's it?
Thank you.
Okay, time check. We have about 15 minutes left, and we're in the home stretch.
Let me see. Executive committee, real quick, what we did at our retreat, and I'd like to cover it, is to talk about the importance of our committee system, the committees that we go out there, and the real need for people who are on the committees to participate and get our committee work done. You heard from some of the committees that are out here right now that have been very instrumental in moving our agenda, our community agenda forward. And I'm going to tell you that all the work that the Neighborhood Council does is done at the committee level. And then they bring it to us for final vote. So I'll say it again. You've heard it a couple times. You know, we could really use your input in our committees so that we could represent what's important to you as a community member, but as a community member, with a younger idea of what's important. So don't shortchange yourself in thinking that you don't have a voice in your community. Every single one of you do, and you have adults here who are more than willing to listen and help you get what you feel is important. So that's what what we talked about on that. I'm going to move over now to Port, Environment, and Sustainability Committee.
Can we bring the level down just a little bit?
Yeah, it's another brief report, though. So we did have our meeting. It's the first time in my history our meeting preceded the stakeholder meeting. Maybe it confused folks, but I was the only one in attendance, so we did not have a quorum, and we adjourned at 7 o'clock.
Community issues? No report?
No.
Elections and bylaws. Well, we're going to be coming up to elections, and so we'll be having more coming from there soon. Christensen Science Center, anything?
No news.
Nothing. Okay. Let me kind of give you a quick update, and I think this is going to be important for all of you to hear. Many of us, including, I'm sure, our young people, traveled the Vincent Thomas Bridge, and you heard it mentioned a few times during the course of the meeting. In case you don't know, but maybe this is something that you all already know, the Vincent Thomas Bridge is going to shut down. Yeah, thank you for your interest.
Yeah.
It really is going to shut. And we just got notified, I just was in receipt of information that during this shutdown, they're going to be resurfacing the bridge, and they have opted based on the community input.
Please.
Can you guys?
We only have a few minutes left. Please stop talking.
So what's going to end up happening is that Caltrans has made the determination that they are going to shut down the bridge completely. There were different versions or different phases that they were going to go by, from keeping one lane open to keeping two lanes open. We now know that they are going to go for a full closure, and that's going to be probably toward the end of 2025 when you're going to see it shut down. It's going to be closed for approximately anywhere from a year to 16 months. given how good progress that they make during the course of this resurfacing project. They are now releasing a newsletter monthly, and they just released their first one. I'm not exactly sure how it's landing, but I was supposed to be on the distribution list, and I haven't seen it yet, but it was released yesterday. You got it? Yes. Okay, that'd be great. So anyway, there is a monthly newsletter to keep you posted as to the progress of the project. Now, just so that I can help you understand the importance of this, when that project was coming to the community, it was already a predetermined fact that the community knew about the project. They did not. And it was an insistence by neighborhood councils that said you need to be more engaged with the community so that we know what's going on with that bridge. We want to be able to contribute to the planning of that project. And it was a difficult road to travel with them, but they did relent. They have a community advisory committee for the project, and they also have a technical advisory committee. So this is why we're getting up-to-date information. It's important that when big, large organizations such as Caltrans, in this case, are doing projects, that the community knows about it, because it's important for us to know so that we don't get caught up in traffic jams and everything else that's going to happen when that bridge closes. So be forewarned. Make sure that when it actually happens, there will be plenty of opportunity for them to give you the time frame and when it's going to happen. But when it happens, it's going to affect us here on this side of the bridge quite a bit, because so many of us use that bridge to get over into Long Beach, to get over to the 710, to do all the things that we need to do as community members out there, and then vice versa. People from Long Beach, from those communities, are coming this way to enjoy the great life in San Pedro.
That's right.
So just be aware, keep your ears open, your eyes open, and you'll be hearing more about that project. But don't let it surprise you when it's shut down, Vic.
Since you've already been notified of that, does that mean that the final environmental impact report is also finished and will be distributed? That was going to be my next point. Because they have made this determination, that is one of the items that would be covered in the final environmental report, which will be released within the next week or two. It's going up for final signatures. So the environmental report has been completed and is up for final signatures within their agency. John, your hand was up?
Did they say anything about, since, because we had this discussion with Mayor Bass, if you remember, but the shutting down of the bridge, and then she's having all the major roads and highways all fixed up because of the FIFA's going to be here in 26, the Super Bowl in 27, and then we have Olympics in 28. Is that going to be going on at the same time while they're doing the bridge, or
that's a very likely, it's the likelihood it's going to happen. But if they keep the construction time short, then it'll be minimal impact. But we don't know what that project is going to really look like and how it's going to affect every single one of us as we go across that bridge, as it impacts. The biggest impact for those of you who might be interested is the fact that they're going to have to reroute traffic, and that rerouting of traffic is going to affect our local streets, especially in the community of Wilmington. Wilmington's going to be the hardest hit for reroutes, and they're going to be carrying the brunt of all this traffic, not just passenger car traffic, but a lot of container truck traffic to get across to Terminal Island, where they have lots of cargo transfer on there. So it's going to affect us quite a bit. San Pedro, Wilmington, and also Harbor City are going to be truly affected. But I like to speak from the perspective of San Pedro in this case. If I'm really concerned that there is a a time when there is going to be where Western and the Vincent Thomas Bridge closure is not going to happen simultaneously, because for people in San Pedro, we have one other way out of our community should we need to get out, and that's Gaffey. That's going to be the, our only way out if Western is impacted, for this. So keep all this in mind. More news to come. I'll let it go at that. The EIR is going to tell you all the nuts and bolts about the project, and that'll be released. And when it's released, we'll make sure that it's on our website so that you can pull it up. Okay. I think that pretty much we have liaison reports. I'm not sure that we have any liaison reports. Anyone? No? Okay. All right. Any announcements from anyone? No? Yes, sir.
I'm Ramon. I'm Elijah. And together we're Ramon and Elijah. I just have one question. Actually, two questions. Yeah. My first question, I think, is behalf on everybody in the room. Where do we get our papers signed?
Afterwards.
I'm sorry?
Afterwards.
She'll take care of it.
Where? Oh, where? Right here.
Any one of you guys?
No.
No. Right here. You're going to line up.
All right. I have another question. My friend Nerlin parked in the 15-minute parking spot. Is his car still going to be there? And if not, who could take him home?
It'll be there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Don't make a habit of it, though.
Cheryl. Hang on, guys.
Whoa.
Meeting's not adjourned
There's a
yet.
formality.
Oh, yes. Next.
It's on Wednesday.
It's going to be on Wednesday again?
Yeah, because Tuesday's Central.
We're almost there. Just a little bit of quiet.
On the 13th. 13th next month. The what?
What about the email I sent about the meeting being the same night as that other meeting for the NC elections?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question, but
We don't have an answer to
seen
that.
Yeah, I emailed Paloa. About it because the whole Region 12 meeting is the same night as our board meeting.
Cheryl.
Yeah. What is she?
Okay.
I emailed Paloa about it.
At this point, it's the 13th. If we hear something different, then it'll have to change at the last minute or possibly. So.
All right.
But for right now, it's
Okay, we're there. We're there, Fico. Hold on, everybody.
Hey.
We're not getting any signatures until we have some order. Please give us like 90 seconds to wrap this up.
Sit down. Wait. Okay.
What? Have them come this week.
No.
As far as the meeting's concerned, we are adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.
It is 8:28, 8:29.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Glenn, John, I need you guys to help sign.
Yeah.
Make sure you count too.
Hey, Lori, settle down, okay, please.
All right, I will sign some up on stage.
Oh, you can sign mine? Yeah, you guys have to sign. Miss, thank you so much. Up here. Miss, you're the best. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed night.
Are you supposed to fill this out?
Yeah, I'll fill it out. I just got the copy right now. It's just a signature.
It's not 3, it's 2.5.
Just a signature.
I had a bonus half hour.
What is it called?
Northwest Neighborhood
council. Oh, you can fill that out. I don't know. There we go. 2.5 hours. Great.
Thank you. Where do you want me to do it? Right here? We right here?
Where am I?
That's the left.
Yes. Right here? If it's filled out, it's a lot easier.
Can I see your ID? Right here?
Thanks for coming, guys.
Can I just sign my name right here?
Sure.
This one here?
You're supposed to write what it's for.
I'm sure it's right here. I have this. I have to put on the bacon. Right here. Sean? This one was participate local government.
I'll just fill out the hours. There you go. You can fill out the rest.
Do you think I was a good
I can sign.
Hello.
Good. Ready, Matt?
Excuse me.
I can sign if you're still waiting.
I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you have an even better one tomorrow. And I hope that you're enjoying this Thursday afternoon. I think we should all be thankful for everything.